Hey guys, we're back. It's episode 2 of the BOBA Jo Show with Mark and Johnny. And what are we talking about today, Mark?
We are talking about wrestling action figures. In particular, we're going to try to pick out our 5 personal favorites as best we can. I know it's a tough job, but someone's got to do
Every
it.
figure's
So
my favourite.
yeah. Well, look, we're gonna tag team this. I'm glad to have a good
Yep,
tag partner in my corner to get through this today.
that's the way. Okay, so we've got a slideshow, very fancy technology for our modern times. Bring up the start of that here. And we're going to be going into our favourites. We're picking 5 figures each. They're not the best figures ever. They're just like ones that we happen to really enjoy, and they're in no particular order. So if anyone's like, "Why is that number one?" There is no number one. They're just the order we want. Don't argue with us and just be quiet and enjoy the show. So we're gonna just kick off, giving a little prehistory of what was happening with the earlier figures before we get to the modern Mattel, where everything's face scanned and digital technology and 6-inch. We had the older figures of various companies, shapes, sizes, different qualities. I'll hand over to you, Mark.
Yeah, I now for the WCW stuff, I only ever saw them from a distance. I never
Right.
actually owned any of them, and when it comes to the LGN WWF superstars, they just were not around by the
Mm-hmm.
time I was of the age of getting into wrestling and picking up toys. But what was around and was plentiful were the Hasbro WWF action figures. They were unbelievable. I like just they were everywhere. They were everywhere. Everybody in school had them. They were probably one of the most commonly swapped toys around the yard. Like everybody just seemed to be like swapping wrestlers and kind of, assembling these massive collections of wrestling kind of figures even back then. And they were kind of like the main wrestling toys I had up until like Jax took over the license in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Then I started picking up more of them. You see a few of them here on screen. Um, Kind of a nice kind of mix here of Jack's Toy Biz.
Mm-hmm. Was this from one of those
What's
eBay
that?
listings?
It's an eBay listing. Yeah, that
Yeah,
Xbox
it
looks
had the best
cool.
photos, so I stole it from there.
I love that Xbox
Mm. Yeah, I
right
just I
there as
just pulled
well.
out the background, so they're just floating in space. So.
I think that Kevin Nash is one of those Toy Biz figures. He looks kind of
Yeah,
small. I think the Toy Biz figures were always just that little bit smaller when they did the
I
the
remember
WCW line.
I remember that X Pac because that same body they used on the Stone Cold, and that was a later sort of post 2001. It had the real rubbery arms and legs that would actually you could actually move the arm and it would go make like a snapping sound,
Yeah,
like it would be breaking their arm or something.
the Stone Cold figure you're talking about. I know the exact figure you're talking about, and
Mm.
it even has the exact same jeans and boots. The only
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
is
yeah,
instead of a
yeah. I think
D-Generation
I've got
X
them out the back
t-shirt, it has
somewhere.
an Austin 316 t-shirt, and the head is
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
It's the only
yeah.
difference in the mold.
It does make sense. Like X Pac's meant to be a little guy; he's not meant to be as big as Stone Cold. But yeah, we had the go back second. Like these are some more, I think, LGNs in various stages of degradation. The rubbers going, the paint's going. I saw a lot of these on the playground as a kid, growing up back in NZ, New Zealand. I never owned any of them, but I did get to play with them at mates' houses after school. And the cool thing is they were big and you could really smash them into each other. They were very popular and good to play with. They're not an action figure; they're just a toy you could throw around the room or smack your brother on the head with them, and they're very rubbery. So they were
Yeah.
good. And um,
And perfect, I suppose, for wrestling figures if they're being
yeah,
aimed at kids actually playing with them because they can stand
mhm,
up to a lot of punishment.
yeah,
You're not there to pose them. You're there to, like you say,
no.
to smash them together
And
and have fun.
the other thing that was real popular. I don't know when they first had them because there's been so many. You know those pillow style ones that were big and kids would actually wrestle with them and throw them around. They were just like a
Yeah.
plush thing, but they were big, like
They
a
were like
pillow.
wrestle buddies. Is that what they were
Yeah,
called?
that's the
There
ones.
was
They
like
were very
Wilder and
popular too.
Hogan. Yeah, they were great.
Mhm. So we'll kick off into our figure picks. We're going on. We've got Papa Shango, this one of Mark's, so we'll hand over to him.
Yeah, so Papa Shango, I suppose first of all, before we get into it,
Mhm.
I should probably say that my choices were kind of based on the figure itself, maybe more
Yeah,
so than I happen to like the wrestler. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't have
I
a
did the
problem with Papa
same. I followed
Shango.
your lead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I've no issue with Papa Shango. He wouldn't be one of my favorites, to watch on screen.
No,
However, I
I'd
do
rather
have to
watch him as
say
Godfather.
exactly. I do love this figure though. I think this is one of
Hmm.
them
That's a great
the
figure.
great Mattel figures, and it actually came packed with an Ultimate Warrior figure. It came in a 2-pack. It was a WWE Elite figure, but even just you can see the tattoos on his arms. He's got the removable hat. He's got the kind of the bone necklace as well.
Hmm.
His ring attire is really detailed. He's got the Papa Shango symbols throughout. You can see here that warrior actually that he's going to ram into the turnbuckle there.
Hmm.
That's actually the Ultimate Warrior figure that came packed with him, and it's taken, I think, based on that attire and everything. I'm assuming they've taken it from that time period where the two of them were actually feuding, and Papa Shango
Yeah,
was doing the
yeah.
whole thing of making the green puke come out of Warrior's forehead and stuff like that. But you can see there like the figure in its full glory.
Mm.
Really,
And I
really
just
good attention to
like
detail.
you're saying, the tattoos are fantastic, and the same with some of the Undertaker ones where they've gone on to the, I forget the name of it, like on bloody what Action Force Bobby Varley talks about. It's a different machines the way they print them and that compared to what they used to do. So it's very accurate. You get very accurate tattoos at this tiny scale on there. They actually look amazing when you look at them.
And it's a testament to Mattel really as well, because there's so many wrestling characters, and
Mm-hmm.
lots of them would
A
probably
lot.
have varying levels of fandom, and I'm like, I'm like, once again, I'm not knocking Papa Shango or anything, but I like, he probably wouldn't be, the most popular or biggest character you could release a figure of. So the fact that they'll actually put that amount of effort into making him as screen accurate as possible,
Yeah.
sorry, that actually, I think that's a testament to Mattel that they'd put that type of effort into a kind of I suppose once again, like a character that wouldn't be as popular as like a big
Mm-hmm.
name. And even there he comes with I'm not even sure what it is, that accessory he's holding. I think it's supposed to be some
I
type
think
of
it's
like
meant to be like a witch
voodoo.
doctor thing. Is it like a voodoo
Yes, yeah, I think
Haitian
you
sort
like
of?
you shake it or something,
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
happens. He always carried it with him anyway. I was never totally sure what
Mm,
the mechanics of it was. It does make magic stuff happen though. That's all you need to know. You
mm.
can do voodoo
And
with it.
it's it's a legitimate great figure. I've almost bought it several times. I mean, I wish I had it, and it's one of the better Mattel figures. He's not the most popular character, but he's a great looking figure, and he's a very comic booky looking character. And if you want to put this with other 6-inch figures, you could have him with some bad guy and with comic characters or wherever you want to put him, which make more strength to the figure in Mattel for making this version.
Yeah, it's a very he's very toyetic character, Papa
Yes,
Shango. Like he could
yes,
like you have this kind of like this voodoo
he's
witch
very
doctor. He could
cartoonish.
definitely yeah. You could see him going toe to toe with like Batman or somebody like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did it in Legends of the Dark Knight early '90s. They did do some Haitian voodoo stories that makes me think of that. Seeing him. I'll move on to your next pick here. Now, who's this guy?
Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart, the
Never
mouth
heard of him.
of this yeah, so I suppose I think we've not to spoil anything for what's coming
Mhm.
up on the list, but I think we've both picked
Go on.
characters that aren't exact. They wouldn't be exactly classified as wrestlers, or at least full-time
But they're
wrestlers, and
definitely
this is one of
characters.
them. They're definitely characters. So yeah, Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South.
Yeah.
Look at the
That
detail
damn
on that
megaphone. How
figure.
many matches did he ruin with that? Where if you're listening to
Oh
them
yeah,
now, it's his classic matches. All you can hear is this tinny in the background.
and the outlandish outfits, the really
Yeah, the outfits are
colorful
great.
jackets, and no, this figure I initially only really wanted to get it because I have the Hart Foundation. The Hart Foundation are actually like one of my favorite ever WWF tag teams, and I have a couple of versions of them. I have this kind of
Hmm.
elite version in pink and black, but I also have a battle pack
Yep,
version in their older blue and black
that's that
gear. So
very
I'm
late.
a big Hart Foundation fan. But
Yeah, I
so
love it.
I was like, I just want Jimmy Hart maybe more so as an
Mhm.
accessory. I wasn't even really thinking that much.
Yeah.
But when you actually get the figure in hand, it's really once again one of just those amazingly detailed pieces. Like
Hmm.
they got the jacket spot on, he's got the
Yeah, the
tie, the
layers,
glasses are
coat.
removable, exactly the megaphone. And because I think I have him the hand here. So because he's not actually a wrestler, he doesn't come with all those like elbow pads and knee pads that they usually have on the figures. So his leg articulation is actually brilliant. He's got like knee bends, and you can just get the most out of all the joints. Like there's no elbow pads or knee pads restricting him, so you can get him into some pretty like you can get him sitting down properly and stuff if you want to put him in chairs or whatever way you want to pose him. Really, he just looks really, really good. And they have, I think, released another couple of versions of him since. I think there's one that was a build a figure. Like, look at that. They even have this signature Jimmy Hart on the back of the jacket. He's definitely a character that you could probably just do multiple releases of because he wore so many outfits when he managed so
Hmm.
many
A
different
critical
guys to
amount
the
of outfit.
ring. Oh yeah, and like and some of his jackets were absolutely hideous. Like as well. Like I remember like coming out managing the Renegade in WCW with a big like airbrushed picture of his face on the back of his jacket. Like really, but like I'd still love to get an action figure of it, which we probably
Mhm.
won't ever. But you
Um,
know, once again, detail wise, like Papa Shango, it's those little things. Like because at the end of the day, yes, he's a well known character within wrestling, but he's not exactly like a top drawing main event level character.
mhm.
But once again, they've released multiple figures of him and they've put great detail and put great effort into each of the figures they've released.
And can you tell us, because he has a lot of connection to the old wrestling music and theme tunes, is he actual a musician, or he just writes some of this stuff, or what does he do behind the scenes there?
From what I heard and what I've read, he is essentially like a jack of all trades when it comes to the music business. So he's produced music. I think he's sang, he's played instruments, he
Hmm.
has managed acts in the music industry. Lots of well, not lots of, but plenty of some of the more memorable wrestling teams he's had a hand in producing. Like I think
Hmm.
he did a bit of work
So many.
on some of the more famous WWF themes, and also like for WCW, like Hulk Hogan's American Made theme. I think he was like the producer on it, and
Hmm.
he's done plenty of stuff outside of just that wrestling bubble of being like an on-screen character
Hmm.
and that like and a manager. He's actually had a hand play in the musical side of things. But he is a tremendous character and a great
Hmm.
character just to have in action
Great
figure
performer.
form because he don't get me wrong, like I wouldn't have him as like my top manager would probably be like Bobby Heenan if I had to pick
Yeah.
one out of them all. Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette, I would say, would be my top two. But Jimmy Hart wouldn't be too far behind. And I think with Jimmy Hart though, a lot of the appeal is the actual presentation. He's out there
Hmm.
wearing the most flamboyant outfit you could possibly think of, and he's also got like a
Very southern.
megaphone. So yeah, he's southern. He's as southern as you can get, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to ignore him. And like you said, like how many matches did he ruin by just having to get involved and
Yeah.
hit someone
Makes me
over the
think like
head with that
Elvis and
megaphone and just
Tennessee
really
and that
annoy
sort of
you?
thing.
Exactly, exactly. Well, look, he was an unbelievable character, and he makes an unbelievable action figure.
Mm. And he did great promos and interviews, whether he was talking or he was presenting the other wrestlers. Like, he was just a great showman.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
We'll move on, and this is my first pick here for our favourites. I've got a
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his
Too
name.
early in the morning to be doing
Macho,
that.
Macho. Yeah,
What the
Macho Man.
Macho Boy?
So my actual pick is the one on the left in the green. This guy here with the hat. He's got the removable sunglasses. That's a fabric coat with fabric tassels that comes off. And I've got the one on the right there showing where he's got the pink shorts and yellow boots. It's mostly the same buck. There's some minor differences in the legs, but they've used the same buck and the same head quite a fair bit for different macho releases. And even again, um, uh, here, like your WCW area, man, it's pretty much the same figure again, just different outfits. But this one came with like 3 heads, so they've done a lot of versions of him, which is good if you're a fan because he's got a million different outfits from the get the name of the guy, but it's the same guy who created outfits for Jimi Hendrix back in the 70s. Like, mate, all these amazing costumes. That guy's got his own documentary, but it's on some American network. I can't get onto it. I'd love to watch it because the outfits are
Have to
amazing,
look him up.
presentation's amazing, fantastic figure. Probably my favorite of all the Mattel machos because they've done, I don't know, at least more than 10 versions. But getting the fabric, the little that hand that's sticking out to, he's got the little bandages wrapped around the hand. His mustache and facial hair look great. His eyes look great when you take the sunglasses off. Just a beautiful, beautiful figure. Here he is hanging out with some weirdos,
Yeah, he
some
looks right
masters
at home
there.
with this crowd.
Just
He
the
fits
green,
right
just the
in.
green. I put him up there one day just to take a photo, and he doesn't
I
care, hanging
think
out with a bunch of beatniks.
of all the like Macho, he's got so many great outfits, but I think they've actually
Mm-hmm.
really captured this one well because I have a few Macho Man figures, but I don't think any of them come with soft goods under removable stuff,
That's
and
one
I
of the
think it
ultimate
really
ones
makes
with
a
the
difference.
extra bits.
Yeah, well, look, it's definitely it's worth the if it's an ultimate, it's probably a little bit dearer than the elite, but it's definitely worth
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because that's a great looking figure, and it really just kind of captures the essence of Macho Man. Even just like and like once again, I'm going to be repeating this a lot, but it's the attention to
Go
detail
ahead.
as well. Just the little hands, the taped up hands, the taped fingers and
Yeah.
thumb.
And it came with the spare
It's
hands. You
so
can have a
detailed.
fist hands, or you can have these hands, and you got to have these hands on that figure. There's not because that's the coming walking out entrance, version.
Yes. He's just so toyetic, Macho Man as well. I would
Yeah,
say
and it's a real
him
mix of
and
there of
Warrior and
his. You've
Hogan
got
are very toyetic.
like the pants there are very late 80s going to 90s, the yellow and pink. The top outfit's going into the 90s where he's got the green. And, later on he had the Slim Jim outfits and all that stuff. He's got so many amazing outfits. Even week to week, his show outfits that he doesn't wear in the ring when he was doing commentary before he jumped over to WCW. He wore a heap of different custom Raw ones where it had like Uncooked and Unleashed and Monday Night Raw for the very like first year of Raw. He did some great commentary on there.
I think that kind of goes to that old school mentality of promoting yourself and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're the most kind of memorable and also the most attention grabbing thing on the screen
Yeah,
because when you even and even when he's doing commentary because when you watch those old Raws while he's still
his
around
commentary is
you're not
great, even though he
looking.
hated
His
doing it.
commentary is great. His commentary is great, but not only that, you're not looking at Vince and whoever else is sitting
No,
there. You're only looking and kind of really
and
listening to Macho, and he always just looks
yeah,
kind of compared to everybody else. He's just so big and flamboyant and like
yep,
energetic.
yep.
He kind of just steals the
There's
show.
so there's so many different in the first year or two of Raw, like Monday Night Raw. Um, there's a whole bunch of different commentary teams depending on if it's sort of the A show or B show, which circuits and what local, like house shows, records, live shows, and then they added in overlays. We can't
Yeah.
do overlays around here. Like they would just pop up on top of the screen with the audience behind them, and sometimes it was Vince and Macho, sometimes it was Vince, Macho, and someone else, a guest of the week, just a celebrity or some person. Vince, Macho, Bobby Heenan. Oh my god, both of them just give Vince shit the entire time,
Uh,
and they'll say stuff as a joke, but they mean it. They're just fucking with people, all the things they come up with.
it's great as well now watching it as an adult and knowing that Vince is the owner because back in the
Yeah,
day it
yeah,
still wasn't
and they're
a
just giving
hundred
him shit
percent
all day
clear.
long,
Yeah, yeah, what a good excuse just to be able to like
and
take the piss of your
that's
boss when he's
that's
sitting right
probably
beside you.
that's probably the best credit you can give to Vince is when he's on screen, he is professional, and people will do anything and say anything, and he knows it's character, and he's not going to sue you for something you say on screen because that's part of the show and the style. So this is my next pick. So who's this guy?
Oh, he looks familiar. Is it
Mm-hmm.
Is it Prince Adam from He-Man? Is he a wrestler?
It could be Prince Adam wearing a strange tunic that came with the Masterverse figure that happened to fit on him. But we're meant to be talking about wrestlers here, aren't we? What's this Masters idiot doing in there?
Oh, this guy.
That
I've
guy,
seen
he
this
looks
guy.
familiar.
He's that bad guy from Rocky 3, isn't he?
Oh, that's who he is. Yes. We should probably just talk about Rocky for the rest of the show. I mean, piss these wrestlers off.
No, look, it's Mr. T, folks. Don't worry, we're not completely dense here. We know who he is and we love him. Wow. Who's in trouble here? Is Mr. T about to get splashed by Rattler, or is Rattler about to get like taken out of it midair by Mr. T?
That's a valid question that the audience wants to know, Mark.
Well, it looks like T caught him midair. He's got him in a torture rack. So Rattler, you are finished. But really, what chance did he ever have against Mr.
No,
T?
not much. I mean, you've got that much gold on you. You must have a fairly strong frame to hold up all that gold if it's real and hopefully not fake. And we've skipped ahead. I'll go back. That's your one. I'll skipped ahead too far.
Skipping ahead to his partner there.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit of a hint at like where he's from actually, because he was where was he from? Because they've done the stretch pants, and he fought someone named Roddy Piper in a certain Mania event that was highly publicized and very popular in the press and the media at the time.
Yeah, must have been some niche thing. I never heard of it.
Yeah, some niche thing.
Yeah,
never heard. I was too busy watching WCW and Starrcade. Who wants to watch this WrestleMania stuff?
So tell me about this. Is this figure like? Is he an elite or is he one of the ultimates?
He's one of the ultimates. He doesn't really deserve to be an ultimate, but the what makes it, I guess, is he does. It is a re-release. They've done this figure 2, maybe 3 times. They've done them in Coliseum and other outfits. It's the same figure in buck. I don't know if they made a new head sculpt because I haven't owned any previous versions to compare it to. But the robe is fantastic. It's nice soft fabric. You can take it off and put it on any other figure of a similar scale or size, and it'll fit. It's got the little bits around the middle there you can tie onto them. The gold chains are just a solid plastic piece. They look good. He does come with 2 heads. So the soft fabric robe, the 2 heads, I think there's some alternate hands in there. That's what puts it up to the ultimate price. Not in quality, just in price. He's just a regular figure with a fancy head that really makes it, and the soft goods. But I didn't expect to love this figure so much, but I was rewatching the old WrestleMania 1, 2, 3, and they popped up in some of the shows of the era too, like promoting the events. And I've been rewatching my Roddy Piper Best of DVD, the documentary, and I just love when Piper just like talks shit and trashes him and goes up to him and slaps him in an interview and scoop slams him in that ridiculous faux boxing match they did that where T was supposed to punch him and completely misses him, but Piper does the leap out of the ring, but T missed the timing. I love Piper. I love Mr. T, but the story of those guys was fantastic back in the day, man. Their rivalry and like they didn't like each other, and just the build up was so good. And the figure is better than it has any right to be. It's the same basic buck, but you got those stretchy pants, you got the gold chains, the head, the robe, and it just makes him an amazing figure. And you can put him in. I mean, it does stamp him as 80s WrestleMania T. You can get other figures that are more generic if you want to have like A-Team Mr. T. Like I've got my A-Team box set down there, so I'm a genuine fan of Mr. T, genuine fan of Piper, and he's just a fantastic figure.
Great figure. Okay. And I must actually try and get one while they're still I know they're not that easy to get now, but while they're still maybe relatively
I got lucky. It was
available
at a local import store, so I saw it online when it came out end last year. Was the re-release as I think it's the first edition as Ultimate, but it's a second or third version of that same buck as T.
Yeah, he's definitely missing from my collection, especially to have alongside this guy here who's on screen at the moment.
I try to build up my 80s icons, man. I mean, give me a Hasselhoff, give me some Miami Vice, Magnum, MacGyver, any of those sort of things, give them to me.
Yeah, you need the lineup. just like the ultimate
Yeah.
men of
Yeah.
the 80s lineup,
Yep.
masculinity
Sure.
in a bottle lined up, yeah,
Sex
no,
Panther.
this Hogan, I think now, because I've had this Hogan now for so long, he's
Yeah.
actually from a subline from Mattel. I think it was called Defining Moment.
Yeah.
That was the name of it, and
Sorry.
there was a Hogan, there was a Razor Ramon, there was a few. They're essentially Mattel Elites, just under a different kind of sub
Yeah,
banner.
they definitely reuse them a lot because I mean, like that's NWO Hollywood, pretty much the same figure again, different colors,
Yeah, just
same
a different face
arms.
sculpt, but the
Yeah,
bodies are
different. Comes with
essentially
extra
the
heads.
same deal. But I think what I liked about this figure at the time, I hadn't seen. I think he's one of the first ones to come with those kind of rippable open T-shirts, like it's just a kind of a plastic
And
T-shirt that you
is
can
it a
kind of tear
plastic
half.
shirt there? Because later they did
That's
fabric
right.
ones.
It's
Ah,
plastic, yeah. So you can, if you, depending on how I have them here, but you can, if you want, like you could actually just align it and then put the belt over in such a way that you wouldn't even
mhm.
see the cut coming down if you wanted to display them
That
that way.
looks a bit
But
little better actually because the Mr. T also came with a fabric um, vest like that. That the same. Well, like, I've got a classic Hogan that comes with a fabric vest, and the T came with a different color version of that. And they put Velcro on it, but the bloody fools who designed it, great job. Where did they put the Velcro on the back? No, put it on the front. So it fucks up the writing right in the
yeah,
middle. So that plastic one actually looks better than the fabric one they did years later.
yeah, and like I was saying, if you kind of align it the right way, you can get it
Mhm.
going. Like you could have it saying like Hulkamania with no break, and then just use the belt,
Yeah.
just hold it in position. What I was going to say as well, that this particular figure, one of the big selling points for me was getting that old WWF World
Ah,
Title, because
yes.
that's the pre Winged Eagle World Title. So like it's
Nice.
it's not one that was around for that long, so you don't really see many figures. Like he'd be the only figure really you could put it with. So I was
Yeah.
glad to get that. It's just a really nice version of Hulk Hogan, and it's kind of just the
Hmm.
classic Hogan with the kind of the shred bandana, and like even underneath the t-shirt you can just kind of make out in that picture he's got like the gold chain
Got
with
the
the
cross.
cross, this yeah,
The
with the
cross that Roddy
Andre with
Piper
later.
smacked off that
Oh
time.
yeah, exactly,
That was good.
exactly, yeah. Just a really, really nice version of Hogan, and it kind of it's that real golden age era Hogan as
Yeah.
well. I think it's just like
He's got the soup
encapsulated
strainer.
perfectly. Exactly, exactly. And yeah, and you can get him into the classic poses. Have him there, of course. The irresistible force meets the immovable object there, facing up to Andre, which
Very iconic
I know.
imagery that the Andre
Very,
Hogan.
very iconic imagery. I will say one thing briefly because I know he's not on my list, but I'll say one thing about that Andre figure. I do like it because of how tall he is and all that.
It's a
One thing
beautiful
that kind of
figure.
annoys me, if you can see, they've kind of just given him normal muscular arms, like they've just given him the same arms that they have on
Yeah,
the
he's
other
more
figures.
flabby looking in person.
Exactly, exactly. And it's the only thing about the figure that bothers me. Now, usually I wouldn't notice that because he's
Just
facing
look
in
at
my
it from the
display, he's
front.
always facing. Exactly, exactly. Yeah. When you see them though kind of standing face to face like this, it's really noticeable that it looks like
Yeah.
Andrew's been like
And
injecting
the
steroids
neck
and just
looks a
working
little
his arm.
weird. The neck looks a little
Yes.
weird with the head and that. So on front it's fine. I have the same figure, but side on you're like, what's going on with that neck?
Yeah. So that's a minor kind of complaint at some of
Yeah,
Mattel's work
but
there. But
I
no,
will say
the
on
Hogan looks great though.
the Andre figures they did a fantastic face too. Like he's easily
Yes.
he's in my top. He's not in this slideshow other than here, but he is in my favorite figures. And they've re-released Andre a bunch of times. They put him in his casual like suit when he's in like promos and appearances and that. I want to get that one as well.
Yeah, that'll be an awesome one to get your hands on.
Mm. Okay, I'll move on to the next one.
Ooh, bad guy. So
Bad guy.
yeah, I'm a fan anyway. In real
I
life,
thought he was a
I
good
was a
guy.
big fan of this guy. Yeah, but yeah. So I don't. I do have a couple of Razor figures, as in him as Razor Ramon,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not loose. I still have them on in the package, so I didn't take them
Yeah,
out. I have
I
my
don't have any of
WCW
them. I've been
version here.
trying to get one for a while.
Yeah, I actually love this ring attire anyway. His
It's his
WCW ring
best
attire.
colors and outfit for the era.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I always just thought it looked so badass, and the kind of like the
Yep.
blood running down that kind of
Yeah.
design, and he had like the matching
Gold.
knee
Too
pad
gold.
and elbow pads. Yeah, so awesome, so awesome. And I think he wore like a black and white version of this outfit as well, which I'm not
Yeah.
sure if they ever released, but if they do release it, I definitely get it. Just a really nice figure, like a really nice likeness to Scott Hall, right
Mhm.
down to his really, really hairy chest, which they nailed
Yes.
perfectly. Um,
And
you know,
he
they've
was nice and
gotten
buff then before he got
sorry.
all puffy on the out of shape and drugs and what. It was still in shape before he got all puffy, so he looked really good then.
Yes, yeah, and you know, it's got the trademark razor curl coming down there on the forehead. Just a really, really nice looking figure, and it just captures them perfectly. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Let me see. Do I have them to hand?
They did a
Do I?
nice version of this in the Jack Pacific back in the like 90s too of this version as well.
Yes, I do have his stablemate six here, which I
Hang on.
often
Let's
display with
see.
them together.
Uh,
Six pack in the house, fellow Wolfpack member. I deliberately left all Sean Waltman, aka 123 Kid, aka X Pac figures out of my
is that a
list because
reference
I
to
knew
six
I
with the?
just yeah, they've actually even gone to the trouble of putting that on the figure. So I have once again have to give Mattel credit for that. Sorry, folks, for that kind of aside, but you know they are associated together. You know, often Six and Scott Hall. So
Oh,
I
they
thought
are. They are. Do you know?
I'd
I
get
was
them plugged
watching.
in.
I watched like the first wrestling. I didn't get to see any wrestling in the 80s. I would hear about it as a kid. People would have the toys and the trading cards. It was on too late. Didn't get to see it as a kid. First wrestling I really saw was mid to late 90s. Seeing like WCW and WWF highlight TV shows. Now I'm going back and rewatching a lot of Raw and Monday Nitro from like early 90s, mid 90s. I'm watching WCW Saturday Night Live. I'm watching very first episodes of Raw. I had no idea until a year or two ago. I didn't know 123 Kid and X Pac were the same person because it was such a big time gap where I'm seeing them. I'm going, that's the same guy. He looks so different with all the facial hair
Yeah,
and the outfit.
he really does look like a kid when he's the 123 Kid,
He was
and
tiny. He was very young.
yeah, he was very young, and like I think now I could be wrong. He might be like 20 or something like that when he actually first
Yeah,
signs with the
he's definitely
WWF,
early 20s when he starts out in
and
the mid early 90s.
I I think he'd been wrestling for a few years already at that point. So he
Yeah,
started actually as a
very
pro in his
skilled.
teens. Oh, big time! He like hands down. Spoiler alert! Anybody who doesn't know me that well in the real world, he's actually my favorite wrestler. He's like my number one. I just love
He's
Sean
he's the
Waltman.
what
Love the
now?
kid. Yeah, yeah. Who'd have thunk it with a picture like that? You know.
I love that photo. I found that in your Instagram, and I went, "That's going up there."
Yeah, that's me. That's me channeling my inner X Pac right there in that picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
Oh yeah.
Scott Hall figure, absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully if I can find even if it wasn't one of the elite razors, because I don't want to open mine. I have the
They've
one in
done
his
in the
kind of his
last 12
classic.
months at least two versions in Ultimates and Razors where it's kind of going for the mid early 90s Razor and the different, the little vest. The same thing as this,
Yeah,
but different colors, basically.
there he is stomping on the icon, getting some real. I think it was like sold out '98. Was that the?
Yeah.
It was some. No, it was Fall Brawl. I think '98. Those two
How long
had a
till that
world
face
title match.
paint melts off Sting? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, he'll get gassed and go for his baseball bat.
They must have had advances in face painting technology because when you get post 2000, you get characters where their face paint doesn't melt in the ring, and I'm like, how is it not melting? They must have different stuff they're using, different chemicals.
Yeah, I always feel bad for the other guys in those matches when like the match is over and you see them at
Yeah,
the end and they're like covered in like, black and
yeah.
white, like smeared all over their chest and their arms, you know.
I'm
Every
gonna
time they
get
have
this
them in a
shit off you.
headlock, like their arms just like covered in wet paint, you know. Yeah, he's
Okay,
laying a
now
beating
what's the
on
next one?
Sting. Speaking of
Speaking
Sting,
of, now who's this guy? Sting. I've just he's got the old coat there. He's got the Scorpion. This is the AEW version of Sting, so it incorporates a lot of the elements from different versions of Sting. You've got the face paint inspired by the Crow Brandon Lee era. You got the big coat he was wearing in the WCW, but he's got those extra details laid in there. AEW, I love in the AEW Sting, he's put like the old Crossbones pirate flag, but it's baseball bats and the Sting face on his chest. That's a very cool design motif.
Yeah,
and
that's really
that
nice.
guy's a beautiful, beautiful figure. Like I've got him sitting on my desk just here. There he is. He's just the nicest version of Sting, and I've got him with my other guys on the desk sitting in front of me now for my 90s WCW era. Even though it's the AEW, it's just the best Sting figure out there if you want a good Sting figure. And I just love it, and the face and everything about it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, and I think I was mentioning to you before we started the recording that kind of ring coat, ring jacket, or whatever he's wearing. I'd love to even have something like that for. I have like a 97, 98 era Sting, but he only has his gear. He doesn't have a baseball bat or a jacket. So I'd really actually like to pick up that AEW Sting, even just to give my
It's
elite
still
Sting a
around. You can
few
find
extra
it on eBay
accessories.
for a fair price. Well, I picked this up loose out of package, but it was new, unused, complete, but just out of package. But you can still get it for a fair price. I like in the 90s WCW, he wore the coats and all that sort of thing. Well, here we go. Hang on, I'll bring this guy in here. Let's see. I'll go take that out for a minute. Like that's one of my old Jack's figures around 98, 99. This came out. Same figure, black and white, but they do repainted in red. Has a pleather fake coat that's still good. But whenever I see that sort of thing, that's like fucking Tombstone and Kurt Russell, man. Like they're coming to town and hell's coming with you. Like, don't fuck with that guy.
If you come into town wearing one of those Western dusters,
Yeah.
there's going to be trouble.
So the AEW one, he's got that gold trim on there. That's why I stuck the little insert, and it's hard to see, but it's got little sort of graphics and stuff around his wrist. There's all kind of extra
Great
details that
attention to
aren't on any
detail.
previous version.
That's really nice. And even just the gold puffs and everything above, and
It's like a
the
best of
molded
Sting.
in. Yeah, and that scorpion symbol in his back as well looks brilliant.
And you ever watch the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Yeah, Scorpion on the back of the silver jacket. It's just a
cool.
bad. If someone's walking around with a baseball bat and a Scorpion, are you gonna mess with them? No.
No way.
Walk away.
One thing, when I see Sting, this kind of version of Sting, one thing I always think about is that film, The Warriors and the gang, the baseball
the
furies.
Warriors.
It's guys with face paint and baseball bats. It's just it's very Warriors.
Yeah. I think of like Brandon Lee's Crow. I think of like Kiss and Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and definitely the Warriors.
Baseball bat connection for me, I think. It makes me think of the Warriors.
It's funny, for watching the action movie, I mean, guns are fun and cool, Arnold and Rambo and Jason Statham and Crank, but if you just take a steel baseball bat, Kevin Nash style, and start smashing things up, like it's scary as hell if someone starts clanging those bats around, man. Now, this is my next pick, but who's this guy?
Is it the Phantom of the Opera?
Yes, it is. It's the red version from Italy. Because everything's red in Italy. Batman's red, the Phantom's red, and this guy is the red machine. And you do not mess with him because he will rip his steel cage off his hinges in the middle of your match and fuck your world off.
And this, he's got the cape, and like the cape was only like used once ever. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly what my other friend who collects wrestling figures said online when I posted a photo last year. He's like, they only use that cape once. Like, yeah, for the special entrance, and he came in and interrupt. I can't remember if the cape was it in the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match, the Hell in the Cell, because that was where he was introduced.
So there's
but it's very dark.
They'd been talking about his impending arrival for a long time before he actually appeared. But
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
during
the build up.
the Hell in a Cell match between Michaels and Undertaker.
Hell in a
The lights
Cell.
go out. There's the big entrance music and everything. Kane
That's
comes down,
so it's so
rips the
theatrical.
doors
That's your
off the
Phantom of the
cage.
Opera. The lights are out.
Oh, what a debut! It's probably still one of the best debuts in
I was actually
WWF.
watching it earlier tonight because and I've sort of watched the match a bunch of times, but I was actually watching Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold and Undertaker, and they played the full clip where he comes out and it's do 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 when he interrupts the match, the lighting, the cage, at the. I just thought, man, how good would it be to be a fly on the wall, to be in that live in that arena, and that happens? You'd be like, holy shit, what's happening? Because you know the lights go off for Undertaker. You've seen that before, but nobody else gets that entrance. And another guy comes out with that entrance, and he's bigger, younger, stronger than him, and he's got this red superhero inspired outfit on, and just rips the cage off and messes up. It's like he comes in and you got the biggest badass of the time of the wrestling. Another big badass comes in and just messes him up, does his own signature tombstone move against him.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with the old tale of brother versus brother either. It's
Yes,
like,
Kane and Abel.
he's got all of the Undertaker's powers, that, and
All
I
his
love that stuff.
powers.
It's like Ken and Ryu in Street Fighter or something. They
Yeah,
can
it
do each
is.
other's moves. Nobody else can do
Yeah.
these moves except for these two guys,
Only these guys. They're studied under the same master.
But the
But yeah,
cape is
that
a great
figure is
look as
awesome.
well, isn't it? Like the cape, it nearly suits him better as a toy. It just goes
Yeah,
really
well,
well with him,
it
especially when you
does.
see him with that Undertaker.
It's very superhero inspired in the design motifs. The top part's plastic, the hanging down part from where it goes to black to red, that's all fabric. And it's the cape is awesome, and again you can put it come with two heads. You can pull his head off. You can put that cape on other figures, but I don't know why you would. But if you wanted to, you could. It's a decent cape, and Mattel does good soft goods on their figures. Like there he is with Undertaker. Undertaker's outfits there is kind of like going into ministry era. That's all rubbery. It's not the back part of it's soft. With some same as Kane, he's got some material hangs down, but Mattel does really good. Um, superhero looking shit, really, like capes, soft goods. On the wrestling figures, strangely enough, on the Masterverse, the soft goods are not great. They've got some in there, very average. They do the best in the wrestling lines. And the tattoos, too. Like the tattoos, again, on the Undertaker's arms, they look
Yeah,
amazing.
serious detail on those Taker
Yeah.
tattoos. So these two
These feel like
versions
real
actually
ultimate
suit each
figures
other.
that earn the title of being an ultimate figure with the outfit, the extra heads, the hands, the packaging. Like they earn it rather than just being like, oh well, here's a figure with another pair of stupid hands like Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we got here?
Well, it's time, Johnny. It's time. It's
What
Vader
time is
time.
it, Mark?
So, first of all, I suppose before I actually lay praise to this figure, which I
Mm-hmm.
will, I actually think this is either the first or the second of the modern Mattel figures I ever picked up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so impressed with it. It kind of got me fully hooked in on buying these modern wrestling figures. I will just briefly, before I get into praising him, I will give one fault with this figure, and that is he's clearly supposed to be like the WCW Vader because he has the big
Yeah,
kind of horned headdress, but
yeah,
they have Vader time written on his singlet,
yes,
which is he didn't have that until he went to WWF years later.
yeah,
So it's a weird figure. It's like I suppose it's good in some ways because you could have him as either both, but really as a
mm-hmm.
nerd, it kind of annoyed me that wasn't exactly accurate to what his attire should have been. But parking that to one
Yeah.
side, I love this.
They
I
misused him
absolutely
when he
love him.
switched over to WWE. And WCW was a good draw. He was a guy like the match with Hogan. When he was in WWF, he just fizzled away and was forgotten about.
Yeah. I just didn't like him right from the get-go. And you know
Yeah,
what, as the story goes, there was issues over the fact that he still wanted to be just called Vader, but Vince wanted
yeah,
to completely change him, give him a new gimmick. He wanted to call him
mm-hmm.
the Mastodon, give him a
Yeah,
new look.
yeah.
Um, And he always had a problem with the fact that Vader owned the rights to Vader, so he kind of had that
Vince does
element,
not like that. If
he
you're
does
a
not
Jesse
like that.
Ventura or Sergeant Slaughter, Vince is not happy if you own your
Yeah.
own shit.
So he was off to a bad start straight away. But like you're saying, in
Yeah,
WCW, he was absolutely awesome. And one thing I always loved about Vader in WCW was his entrance, for his badass entrance
yeah.
music, and also this badass looking headgear he'd come out wearing.
You're
It's
gonna
just
get
really
bashed at
like,
the beach.
oh man, it's so like, and it's so bizarre. I think this headpiece was originally designed in Japan for like when he
Yeah.
was working for New Japan Wrestling, and then he just brought it
That
over
makes
with him to
that's a
America when
strange
he was
looking thing.
wrestling
It's
in
very Mad
WCW.
Max and anime and yeah.
Yes, it's very bizarre. It definitely suited him though. It really did. It was really
Yeah.
because the music and everything combined with him walking out slowly with this gear on, and then he'd take it off, he'd put it down in the ring, and then like smoke would come out of the actual helmet. So the whole entrance was just really intricate, and plus you always knew like whoever he was going up against, they were about to get their ass
Yeah.
kicked. Like,
And
if it was on
he's
normal
a,
TV, he was murdering those guys. If it was on a pay per view, he was still going to murder them. It just would take him a little bit longer because it would probably be an actual star as opposed to a jobber. But you always
yeah.
knew Vader was going to just kick ass in his
Yeah.
matches.
Like he's a very chunky boy. He's heavy. He's surprisingly athletic doing his leaps off the ropes and that. And a lot of in wrestler interviews and biographies, they say he works kind of stiff and sometimes he'd accidentally hurt people, but he's definitely a skilled wrestler and definitely a force
Yeah.
to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Man could hit a moonsault. Like, think about that. The actual
Yeah,
size of this
it's
guy,
crazy when you see
and
a
he could
chunky
hit
boy doing that.
a, yeah, and he could do it picture perfect. It wasn't like a
Yes,
kind of I
yeah.
can barely get up there. He could do it in
No,
one
he was
fluid
excellent at it.
movement. And the figure itself, it's big and beefy too, and it looks
Yeah.
great. Like
Is it the
the
same buck
pastures
as
are
the Bam
movable as
Bam or
well.
not?
They're a similar book. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm looking at my Bam Bam now.
Mhm.
They are kind of different just because Vader has like a kind of a more strappy singlet
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
and no sleeves, whereas Bam Bam kind of has almost like a t-shirt like design
Uh-huh.
on his. So I think the book is slightly different for that
Oh, that's
reason.
good.
But
Because the Bam Bam is a very nice figure, and they're kind of similar proportions. And I don't have either of those, and I wondered if they've done a lazy reuse or do they make a new part. They're pretty good, Mattel in the wrestling at making. Well, here's the same arms and legs, but we've done a new torso and a new head or whatever else.
exactly. Like we were talking about with that Andre figure earlier, like they clearly just
Yeah.
reused the same arms from the normal buck instead of giving us the
Don't mention
flabby
Andre.
Andre
I'll have to
arm.
start buying that suit one live on eBay while we're sitting here. I want to
I'm
get the
thinking about
bloody thing.
getting that one too. I've been looking at it too, I must admit.
How many
What's
figures have
cooler
I
than
bought to
Andre
sit
in a
there
suit?
chatting to people? I'm like, well, I need this now. Okay. So
And
who's
of
he punching
course,
up here?
he's punching his arch nemesis Sting, who already made his appearance,
That's not the crow
as
sting. What
Crow
kind of
Sting.
sting is
It's
this?
it's uh it's classic
Surfer.
Surfer Sting.
Surfer sting. A great figure.
There's another sir.
Have you done my
And
cheats where you got 2 and 1 and I'm like you got to sneak him in there?
yeah, as you
Because
can
every
see,
figure's your favorite.
I'm a bit of a
Hang on,
Sting
hang on.
fan.
We'll bring up. Hang on. We'll take this out. Let's have a look.
So there is my gaggle of stings, which I believe is the correct scientific term for it. So we've
That
got a
is
few
the
of his
term.
special outfits there. Great American Bash version, and that one in the orange was the guy fighting with Vader. Two of these, the two of the ones I gave the belts to, they were just like
Yeah.
basic WWE Mattel. Like they're not even elites. They were like the $10, $15 versions. They don't have all the
Mhm.
articulation, but they still look really
I didn't
nice.
know they'd done that many versions of Surface Thing because I only started getting last 2 years the Mattel figures. So I'm very jealous because you can't get them anymore.
Yeah,
Hopefully they
these
do
two are
another one.
nice. I'd say they're going to do more. I think
Mhm.
the problem at the
Hope
moment
they
is
do a
probably,
re-release or a new one.
I think if he hadn't gone to AEW, we would have
Yeah,
seen a lot more
yeah,
Sting
that's the
figures.
thing. Yeah,
If he
always
if
the
he leaves
the
AEW
rights.
in the next year or two, we'll start seeing Sting figures again.
Yeah, I mean, there's still you can find them on eBay, but I'm not paying 100, 200 for a fucking $20 figure. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So
Love
what do
that
we got
rivalry
next?
though. Oh yeah, Nature
Who's
Boy.
this guy? Now, what's
It's
a goat, Mark?
is it
Is a
Nature
goat something that
Boy?
lives on a hill?
I know this guy. This guy is Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. Is that who it
But
is?
oh,
Or is it
Yeah,
Nature
yeah,
Boy Buddy
correct.
Landell?
Buddy Rogers. Let's just end it there. It's all over. We can go home. No,
I know
that's.
wrestling.
But no, but okay. We're fucking around. But what did he do? He took some of the name and the gimmick, and what did he do? He ran with it.
Exactly. And he is the Nature Boy. We all know who he
Yeah.
is. And what
And
a
what's a
beautiful
goat?
figure as well.
If people are not wrestling fans and like why the hell they're watching us, I don't know. But if you're not, what's a goat? If you're like, well, Stone Cold's the goat, or Undertaker's the goat, or Ric Flair's the goat.
Ric Flair, he does it every night. He's the
Yep.
60-minute man.
Yes, those marathon matches he did, man, like 30-minute matches, 60-minute matches, and then he's out getting drunk all night and up the next day and exercising and off to the next match. Just legendary, just crazy.
I was watching an interview with a wrestler recently. He had a great quote about Ric Flair. He had started working with Rick when Rick was kind of getting old and he was in the WWE in the 2000s. And the young
Yep.
guy asked him, he's like, "Hey
I
Rick,
like that era when he's in there.
it's like Rick, you're so famous and you've made so much money. Like, why are you still doing this? You know,
Broke.
why are you still traveling every day and doing this?" And he goes, "Brother, back in the day when I made 10 grand that night, I'd spend 20 grand. That's why I'm still working."
Get some Cristal. Got to buy
What a
those
figure though.
$10,000
This
suits.
so is this is like real kind of prime Nature Boy, like I'm about to win the world title for the first or second time. That seems to be the era that this Ric Flair is from. He's a real
Yeah,
kind of
this
classic
is that
era Ric
late
Flair.
70s going into early 80s. He's got the pink. He's got the full on 70s hair. Um, he's got his jacket, and he's very fit. He's early days. He started out and he did a Christian Bale. He got a bit too big, a bit too chubby and buff, and then he slimmed down to this physique where he was at his, I don't know, physique peak, but not his wrestling peak, but his physique was amazing, and he's always maintained incredible conditioning right up until that 2000s era when he came into WWF, and he had those sort of honorary matches with Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, did all the stuff with Randy Orton and Triple H. He conditioning fiend, like, and maintain a good physique, amazing wrestler, and hang on, take that out a second. And they've done a lot of versions of him. Here he is. That's kind of going
That's just like
1990ish. They made him cut his fucking hair when he went into WCW. He wasn't happy with
yeah,
that.
he's getting a bit older.
Yeah, give him a but Nature Boy, same soft. The soft goods on this are just amazing. This is like 70s Barbie Mattel sort of quality fabric, not the bullshit fabric you get on other figures. So that pink one is great. This one's fairly similar, but just the capes, man. Like, just look at the size of that. It's fantastic.
It's so class and it's
Fantastic.
so high quality. You can even just tell on camera that that's a
Yeah.
really high quality piece. Like
So
I have
that's why he gets in
I
there
have
as the pick for
depressed
being a
Ric
great
Flair
figure.
here.
But that fabric,
This is depressed Ric Flair from like 1995. He's just showing up to work and cutting his promos wearing his t-shirt but with no trousers on. But
showing the junk in the
still a
trunk.
nice figure. It's my only Flair figure I have at the moment. I like he came with the microphone, but also I just love that Four Horsemen t-shirt. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I ordered some customs from eBay, a whole bunch of cloth fabric T-shirts from a seller who does custom stuff. And the store is not it's an eBay store, but not a toy store. They actually do real clothing, like for human being size clothing. And randomly, they have wrestler Mattel shirts made of real fabric with little like high quality printed stuff, just like that shirt you showed me. I ordered some Macho Man shirts. I got two LWO ones for like Ray and Eddie. I got a Four Horsemen one. But the bastards never turned up. 2 months went by, it never turned up. Lost in the mail. Had to get a refund on eBay. The guy showed me he had proof he'd sent it, so the mail lost it. And this is like 70, $80 worth of little fabric shirts. I bought at $10 each, and I was so pissed off because I've got these guys sitting on my desk, and I want to get the shirts on them. Where's my LWO shirts? It's not coming.
Yeah.
I've got no
You
other
guys are
option to
getting
get
cold
them.
here.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a bastard. So Mattel, great fabric stuff, and again one of those ultimates. The prices are a bit stupid. They're a bit overpriced because it's the same basic figure, but the fabric stuff, the extra heads, the hands. He comes with the extra hands. He's got that little tape on there. He's got finger pointing hands. Amazing figure. And that is the end of our slideshow.
That was fun. That was fun. And can I just draw attention to the fact? Look at how much
No,
the
you can't.
production values. Look at how much the production values of this show has increased since the
Oh,
first
the
episode.
production values.
For this,
I spent a
for
whole
this
dollar.
sequel, for the sequel episode, for episode 2, we
Sequel
went
episode.
all out. And you could just tell, the studio was invested. They saw the success of the first installment, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Man, I want to jump on
They
that
went and got
bandwagon."
Freddy, Jason, Ninja Turtles. We got to fast track it.
Yeah, yeah. Put out that sequel straight away and just pump loads of money into the budget, and that's how we
Yeah.
got that great show today.
They just went, we've got money, get some outfits, do an elbow drop as quick as we can.
And like we were saying, folks, this was just our personal top 5 that we picked there today. I could have probably picked another 5 or 10 figures easily that would have went on that list. And I'm sure if there's any wrestling figure collectors there, you'll happily tell us what your favorites would be in the comments as well, because I'm sure we missed loads. And like I said, there's wrestlers who are my favorites that I just haven't included on the list. Maybe I didn't think the figure was that good, or maybe I didn't even have the figure in the first place. But whatever floats your boat, let us know down below what your favorite wrestling figures are. Dude. NWO Hogan, baby. Hollywood style.
Figure. Not a nice man, but great figure.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, lots of these guys we showed today probably aren't that nice guys.
No, they're probably not. I reckon.
But hey, it's a tough business.
I reckon he's a nice guy. Booker T. Yeah.
I enjoy listening to Booker T's.
Got his trunks.
Got my two Xbox here.
Punk. You little punk. What are you doing now?
European champion.
Yeah.
You really like someone when you're buying other figures just for their belts to give the belt to the guy you do like.
That DX period was mad, man. Like, remember when it was when Nash and Hall left, went over to WCW. We had the whole clique behind the scenes. You had the big group hug on that match, and leading into that whole DX period where Shawn and Triple H were just off the hook doing those like SNL type comedy sketches. They were hilarious, like so funny. And then X-Pac too, doing all the sketches. I love. Two of my favorites were when they did the Nation of Domination parody with the Croc. And years later, they did one where Triple H and HBK dressed up as McMahon and Shane. And like Shane's dancing around doing that weird boxing shuffle. And he's like, son, are you retarded? And he's like, yes. I nearly fell off the fucking chair, man, laughing. I think that like HBK and for better or worse, he did a lot of bad stuff behind the scenes. Later on, got reformed, found Jesus and all that. Better person now. Undertaker used to hate him. Now he's considered a great friend. Became a better person, but whether it was the drugs or his natural personality, fantastic comedian. And early Triple H, before he got all serious and Conan and I'm the game and Lemmy and Motorhead. Again, they were a fantastic comedy duo. So funny, those sketches they come up with were hilarious.
Yeah, they had great chemistry as well, being real life friends, I suppose, that actually kind of came through on screen.
Driving around and hanging out.
They were a bit kind of, I suppose, hamstrung later on when they did the DX the Reform DX in the late 2000s because it
Yeah,
was
the Reformed
PG
it's
then.
not a bad cover version. Just leave it alone. It's done. It's finished.
Yeah, exactly. It was long done, and especially when the TV show was PG, you can't really do any of the stuff you used to be able to
No,
do.
you can't do the
So
whole
straight.
showing your junk in the trunk and on TV. And
Yeah, exactly. You know, so yeah, there was a time and a place, folks, and it was called the
yeah,
90s.
and even
Hopefully, you were
they
lucky enough to experience it.
incorporated China in a good way, where she was always very serious and grim, and they started bringing her into the sketches, and she was genuinely funny too when they got her.
Yeah, no, she had a presence, definitely.
Mm.
Um, no, obviously that's a
I love seeing her
tragic
pick up
story in
guys
its
and
own
just
way.
throw them out of the ring.
Yeah, or ragdolling other women, like just grabbing
Yeah,
other
yeah.
valets and just like throwing them
She
around.
was just a monster, man. Like really strong.
Big time, and probably someone I could do with getting an action figure version of because I actually don't have any
Yeah,
Chinas
there's
in
a few
my
around. You can
collection.
get her in the black. You can get her one in kind of pink outfit. Like they're fairly easy to pick up. So I do want to pick up one of those because I've got a generic Triple H that came in a 2-pack with the Rock, and that's that sort of 98-99 where he's just become the Rock and he's no longer Rocky Maivia. And Triple H is wearing the black trunks where he looks. They're pretty much the same outfit: black boots, black trunks.
Yeah.
One of those Mattel 2-packs where they're budget priced. So if I can get a China to go with those, it'd be great. I still want to get an Ultimates HBK DX Shawn would be good, as well as a mid-90s Shawn where he's wearing the, I don't know, like the male stripper outfit with all the stuff, all the glam.
There's actually I have it here. There's the most recent version, or one of the most recent versions of Shawn Michaels that's came out. It's the WrestleMania
Oh, that's
14
nice. I
version.
have not
Now
seen that one.
I will take the belt off because the belt actually didn't come with the figure, but
Sorry, I kicked
it's
my
really
heat
nice.
over if you heard that noise.
Yeah, yeah. So it's his gear from 1998 WrestleMania. So it's got underneath you can take off these kind of this weird stripper trousers. He actually has the
Yep.
Degeneration X HBK logos done on the the ring gear and all that. It's a really nice figure. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
rubberized vest and
Yes.
rubberized kind of chaps or whatever that you can take off. So you
Yeah,
can
the
still get
chaps.
him doing the double bicep kind of stretchy leg pose. So I would say if you are in the market for like a D Generation X era Shawn, the good thing about this Shawn Michaels is he actually kind of fills two roles. He's a DX
Mhm.
Shawn Michaels, but from a distance he kind of looks like a classic Shawn Michaels as well because
Yeah,
he's still wearing the red.
I'll
So
probably get at
and
least
he's one.
two. Like there's some cheaper ones. There's some ultimate ones. You can the later ones you can swap the heads. The earlier ones you can't because he's a different neck joint.
Yes,
But
I had a few botched hand and head swaps because I didn't realize early on that the joint pegs were different sizes between some of
yeah,
the two.
I
So
got two Ric
so
Flair,
some of
like
my
all three
figures
Ric
literally have like
Flairs.
broken necks and stuff.
I got this one here, and then I've got that pink one in the show, and I've got another one that's just WCW area in the green. He's just wearing green trunks and boots, and I heated it up one day and I boiled it in my cup of water in the morning when I was making the coffee. I thought, right, I'll just do a head swap because I've got these spare heads. Want to swap around? I was stretching them and stretching them. It was like fucking Gumby. It just kept like this, and I'm like, this is gonna break. And I was using like more than 30 kilos worth of force to pull. It would
Yeah.
not pull apart. It was made to go together and never come apart. So those earlier ones, I don't know if it's a single dumbbell or double dumbbell neck, not made to come apart ever unless you're smashing it. You would have to do, I've seen customizers do inside the torso, you would have to like crack the torso shells in half to get the head out, as it just did not come out of there.
Yeah. And it's probably not worth that amount of effort to
No,
kind of
it's not
risk
worth
breaking it.
trashing the figure unless you're a proper customizer who wants to bust and repair something.
Yeah. I think one good thing about the Mattel wrestling line in general is the fact that they do have like a budget version of the line.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
if you as long as you keep an eye out, like I often will go into the local Smiths and
And see a
in the
million
basic
John
figure
Cena's or
section.
Romans.
Exactly. But if you poke through, you never know what you might find. Like you might find the odd British Bulldog or Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah,
Sometimes the classic stars will work their way into those. Like I showed you
yeah.
earlier, those two stings I had, like
Sergeant
they were just
Slaughter.
from the basic. Exactly, exactly. So to anybody out there, if you're kind of looking at the elites and thinking, it's a bit pricey, maybe have a look at the basic lineup because you might just
Yeah,
find who you're
the
looking
basic
for.
line are
The
good. It's sort
articulation's
of
not
the
as
same
good,
bucks
but
with
do
different
you need
bits.
perfect articulation? Like, if you just want the guy to sit in the shell, you could be happy enough.
Yeah, you don't use the knees most of the time. Like we can't all be Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio doing like frog
Yeah,
splashes flying through the air. So not everybody needs the great knees.
I need to find a space actually to set up my ring. I just kind of have a generic WWE ring, but it's always kind of
Yeah.
shoved underneath the press here because I've
Mhm.
just no space for it. I keep all the wrestlers
Yeah.
themselves. They're in
It's hard
display
to
in a
find
cabinet, but if I was to
space.
put down the ring just kind of takes up all the space. So
It does.
I
Like
need some place open for that.
I've got my Mattel Masters ring, which is just the same as the wrestling ring, repainted green, sitting next to the castle. I've got my wrestling ring that's out. That's the exact same one, but it's out the back. And I put the stickers. Came with 4 stickers. They had SummerSlam, Mania, um, 2 other ones. Oh, one was SmackDown. That was Raw. And as you got 4 sides to the ring and 4 different stickers, you're like, well, I'll put one of each and just rotate it depending on what you want on display. I wanted to get a second one of those rings, and I'll still try and get one. Forgot about it for a few months. I'd really like to get a second one of those Mattel rings because they're fairly cheap and basic, and do it up as a WCW early 90s where it's got the powder blue in the ring and then that yellow WCW with the circle in the
Uh,
middle and then the darker blue sort of apron. That would be awesome to have as a second ring, whether you paint it or whether you get like a bit of fabric and hang it over, some customizers do. That would be great to have as another ring.
yeah, and beauty of it is if you those WWE rings, they usually come up pretty cheap. The generic ones,
Yeah.
just to buy. So if you buy it and you don't bother putting on any of the stickers and stuff it comes packed with, it's more or less open to whatever you want to do with it custom wise.
Mm-hmm.
And people
Yeah, you
online
can
will
paint it,
sell
you can
like
put fabric.
exactly, and you could buy custom fabric ring skirts, or you could buy stickers to stick on the ring post if you did
Yeah,
want to change it, like a WCW ring or an ECW ring. Like so, the options are definitely there for customizing, and
AEW.
it's not like customizing the figures. You don't really need to be super skilled
No,
and patient to do it. Like it's a flat surface. You're just doing a little bit of
yeah.
painting or whatever. So
Actually, AEW has a generic ring out too that's a similar price. Like, so they've got their one as well.
yeah, and it's got it would have the black ropes and stuff, so it would probably suit
Hmm.
you for a WCW
Yeah,
custom.
there's a few eBay sellers you can buy just ring ropes that are just I don't know if they're fabric or elastic, but you can buy in different colors like black, yellow, whatever. So if you want to do your WCW and do like your black and the blue and yellow colors, you can get them and just switch them out, put them in there. Like I've only got my Masters one over here in the corner, but the ropes just pop in and out of the little plastic thing. So like those ones are some
Yeah.
kind of elastic rubbery stuff, and they're very easy to pop in and out.
You've fully integrated your Motu and your wrestling universes. They're always fighting with each other and battling in these Eternian battle royals.
Eternal Eternian battles. Yeah, look, I've got my Beastman, and he's got the Warrior cape on, just because it was kind of red, and I thought, yeah, I'll give him a go on there.
I was thinking of giving the purple scareglow cape to this guy,
Yeah,
this Macho King. It's like the Macho King
Macho
version
King,
of Randy Savage, but I do
Macho.
think he's missing a cape. I think that's the one thing you
Yeah,
could do it, and I think the purple
he looks a
scareglow
little
cape
naked
would
without
probably
a
look
bit of
good.
something on there.
Yeah, pretty cool though. He comes with the crown and the scepter though. I need to get a Queen Sherry to go with him as well.
Yeah, yeah. The Sherry's still available. There's the Elizabeth and the Sherry. You can, I guess, the female figures aren't as popular for the manager spouse ones
Yeah,
rather than the modern actual wrestlers like your Alexa Bliss and that. Those ones teams seem to peg warm because I see them now and then.
Yeah, I must actually get an Elizabeth as well because I've three
Mhm.
macho men, so you need at least one
Yeah,
Elizabeth. Like,
I keep seeing it and think, oh, next month I should get it.
and then something else comes up.
Something else.
Yeah, you get a post notification about some new pre-order or something else just distracts you. And
Yep. Yeah,
for Miss
exactly.
Elizabeth, she gets put on the long finger and not in a good
Wallet
way.
empties because there's more mutants from weird Ninja Turtles films in the 90s that I have to have. Well,
Uh,
we might wrap up there. So, have you got some closing comments or thoughts on the Mattel figures, or your picks, or just that era of wrestling in general?
I would say, well, when it comes to the Mattel figures, I just it's such a deep rabbit hole you could get into. But
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you, for me, I've always this whole time just been kind of cherry picking
I do
the
the same.
characters I like. 'Cause I don't know now. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's die-hard wrestling fans that will
Yeah, there's
literally
got to
try
be.
and pick up every figure. And all to them, I can just say, look, good luck, because there must be thousands of figures at this point being released by
Yeah, there
Mattel. They
is.
release so many and
Especially if you've
many
been collecting
versions.
since the 90s or 80s, there's a lot.
Yeah, but and there'll always like I'm looking at my kind of collection now. There'll always be little holes you'd like to fill and little gaps here and there. But I think with the Mattel stuff, I feel like there's always just it's always kind of like a constant brand. It's like an evergreen brand almost. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I go into Smith's, there'll always be wrestling figures
Yeah,
there. So
you
I
can find them in Australia. It's good.
exactly. So like I suppose in a way it's one of the least frustrating
Yes.
brands or collections. If you're going to be
I,
collecting action figures, wrestling action figures, they're just easier in general to get your hands on than some of the other stuff that we're into. So for that
I,
reason, I would definitely give them a thumbs up. As for wrestling from the my kind of wrestling sweet spot is like the mid '80s up until the
mhm.
early 2000s. That's kind of like
Yeah,
my
same.
favorite time
Yeah.
period in wrestling. So most of the wrestling figures that I will pick up will be from that era, as was probably evident by our little discussion today. So look, I'm sure there's plenty of modern wrestlers that have great action figures. I just don't know who those guys are, and I haven't bothered
There's a
picking up
million
toys.
Roman Reigns. Just go into any store in the
Yeah,
country.
exactly. So
Nothing
look, and once
against him, but
again,
he's got a million figures.
yeah, and just to reiterate, anybody watching this video later on or whatever, I'm not like anti new wrestling or anything like that. And if you think that some of those modern
It's just what you connect with.
figures are worth exactly, it's just who you connect with. But look, let us know in the comments. Do
Hmm.
you think that the modern characters are worth giving a shot to? Because I could be convinced
I
maybe
do
to
like
buy myself
Alexa
a Roman
Bliss, but
Reigns.
part of it's the wrestling and part of it's, well, she's fairly nice to look at. So it's kind of
Yeah, well,
50-50.
look, that's the duality of man at work right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Well,
a great time and a great chat, I have to say. I love talking wrestling, whether it be wrestling action figures or just
any
wrestling in
day.
general. So hopefully we'll do something like that again. And
Oh, for sure.
I hear rumors. I've been reading
There's some rumors.
the
You've been in the
interwebs. Yeah,
locker room.
there's been talk that you will be doing another wrestling related show with a mutual acquaintance of ours, a mutual friend of
Yeah,
ours, Bjorn
Bjorn
Jorgensen.
Jorgensen. We're going to be doing a talk about sort of 90s wrestling, and we'll be talking about the kind of transition in that in between period where you had early 90s cartoonish characters, a lot of jobs, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of Repo Man and weird characters. And then you got into the, National F, WCW inspired the whole Attitude Era and the more real world gimmicks. And we're kind of focusing on that in between area. We've got a mix of cartoonish stuff and other things and in between. And, we're stunning Steve Austin and he's the ringmaster and then he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we're kind of looking at that in between period and doing a talk. And we'll probably do like maybe a couple of those, but we've got something queued up for the next couple of days.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, I definitely look forward to watching and listening
I
to
look
that
forward to it
discussion.
too because
Bjorn,
it's his show, man. I'm just the host. I'm keen to see what he's going to say.
well, look, Bjorn is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to wrestling,
He's
among other
brilliant.
things. So,
He's
yeah,
very
he's got a
majestic.
majestic mind. Yes, took the
Interesting
words
mind.
right out of my mouth.
Okay, well, we might wrap up there and say thanks, guys, tuning in. We'll be doing more shows in the future, talking about, I don't know, we're probably going to talk about, I'm down the track, more wrestlers, more turtles. I'm leaning your direction for doing a RoboCop talk. Will be good.
Yeah, hey, look,
Or anything you
I'm
want to talk about.
game. Yeah, it's all on the table.
Okay. Oh,
All right, guys.
catch you next time, guys.
Take care for life.